pleasant good afternoon to everyone. At this time, I want to take the opportunity to welcome all of us who have made the sacrifice to be here this afternoon to have a conversation with us as we examine the theme, Come Let's Talk About the Future. And of course, this afternoon we are going to be talking about positioning the youths of St. Vincent and Grenadines to drive economic prosperity. So even as we listen to the presentations that will be done this afternoon, and we have some very distinguished panelists here with us this afternoon who would be sharing with us from their own wealth of experience, education, their own knowledge. I just want to encourage all of us not just to sit and listen, but to see how we can indeed take these things and put them into practice, because in the end that is the goal for this afternoon's Youth Forum. So at this time I just want to call this afternoon's program to order and invite Miss Arusha Young, who will give us the opening prayer. Immediately after the opening prayer, we're going to remain standing for the national anthem, and that will be done by our very own panelist, Miss Jeanne Allen. So at this time, let us stand as we have that word of prayer.
Pleasant good afternoon to everyone. Can we just reverence God for a moment, please? Dear Heaven, most gracious Father, Lord, I want to truly thank you, O God, for this day. Lord, this is the day that you have made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you, O God, for everyone that has made it to this forum this afternoon, oh God. I thank you for safe journey, mercy here, oh God. Lord, for those that are coming, I pray, oh God, that you bring them safely. Heavenly Father, Lord, I pray, oh God, that this meeting, oh God, it would just not be of the ordinary, oh God. But Lord, that our hearts, our minds, our souls, our bodies, and our spirits, oh God, would be opened, oh God, as we receive, oh God, from the natural, oh God. Lord, let your will be done, oh God. Lord, I pray for the youths of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, oh God. Lord, I pray, oh God, for an open mind. Lord, I pray, oh God, that these minds, oh God, they will not, oh God, only be limited to this country of SVG, oh God, but Lord, the limits, oh God, will be broken over the minds, over the hearts, and over the young people of this nation. Father, Lord, I pray, oh God, that you just do something supernatural, God, in this land, oh God, in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, God. Lord, just have your divine will, God, and I give you praise and I give you thanks again. Amen.
Please remain standing. Remain standing. Please remain standing. I apologize. At this time, we're going to observe a moment of silence as we reflect on the life and the contributions of a former Minister of Government, Honorable John Horn. So we're going to observe just a few moments as we reflect on his life and contribution to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Good afternoon again, and I want to welcome you again for taking the time to be here this afternoon. I know that we probably have a lot of other things that we could have done this afternoon, but we have seen it fit to be here, and I know that you have come here because you have a genuine interest in entrepreneurship. Now, entrepreneurship can be defined basically as the process of designing, launching, and running a business. And I just want to begin by making a point of clarity. Now, this afternoon is essentially a youth forum, so it is prepared with youths in mind, but it is not for young people alone. It's really for everybody, because in this day and age, things have changed so much. In years gone by, traditionally, you would not find children working. And by children, I mean minors, anybody under the age of 18. It's actually illegal for employers to employ children, to do traditional work. However, things have changed. So I can tell you that I have a little sister who is a YouTuber, and she's just about 13 years old, and she has had a YouTube channel with thousands of followers for quite some time now. And she makes money from her YouTube channel. Asked me what I was doing at 13. Surely I wasn't working, I wasn't making any money, but she has taken that interest, she has observed other people doing it, and she has been producing videos even as a teenager, before she was a teenager. So we look at young children becoming entrepreneurs, and we observe too that we have people who should be retired. They work hard all their life, and they figure, well, I've gotten to the age, whether it's 65 or whatever age is applicable to your industry, and you figure, now it's my time, my golden years to sit down and relax and enjoy the fruit of my labor. But they are forced, because of their own economic realities, to go back into the workforce. And sometimes it's not very easy to get back into the workforce. And a lot of people have to turn to little business ventures in order for them to have income to survive. So while we are going to be focusing on young people this afternoon, we are fully aware that it's targeted to young people, but it's really for everybody. So if you have gone over that age, whatever age you might want to consider, that threshold, feel welcome, feel a part of what we're doing here this afternoon, because really and truly it is for everybody. So we recognize as young people that we were born and raised in a time of great challenge. The fact that we have challenges that are unique is well understood. However, while we are mindful of the challenges that we face as young people, we also have to be mindful of the opportunities that are available to us. Because if you are only mindful of the challenges that are out there and you're not mindful of the opportunities that exist, you end up limiting yourself. So we have to keep both things before us. And even with the challenges, we have, as was said earlier, we have panelists here this afternoon who will assist us in navigating some of the challenges that entrepreneurs would invariably face. So, we have to indeed be mindful of those opportunities. And I speak on that point, being an entrepreneur myself. So just very briefly, an example or two. In years gone by, people had to write letters and go to a post office. And even when I was a little child, I remember, going to the Stubbs post office to collect mail from whoever might have sent mail from abroad and that sort of thing. Today, things have changed drastically, haven't they? So we don't have to be writing and posting anymore. We have emails so that with the click of a button, instantly things are sent. And in terms of transportation and so on, things have changed rapidly so that we can not only take advantage of economic opportunities right here at home, but we really and truly have the entire world at our fingertips. So we are going to be exploring, what are the opportunities that are available to young people, given, the advances in technology, and what are the challenges that we have to face, and how can we prepare ourselves so that we can successfully navigate those challenges when they arise. So I don't want to speak for too long. We want to reserve that time for our panelists. But at this time, I'm going to invite the Leader of the Opposition, the Honorable Dr. Godwin Friday, who will come to us and give us some brief welcome remarks. Please put your hands together as he comes.
Thank you, Jamali. Good afternoon, panelists. And to everyone here, first of all, let me apologize for being a little late. I was at another function in Mustique and just got back, so hurried to be here because I wanted to make sure that I got here to take in as much of this wonderful event as possible. As you know, we have been, as a party, engaging in a number of activities to appeal to and also to engage the young people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because too often the approach that's adopted in politics is essentially to entertain and to wine and dine and to get them to sign when election time comes. But when you think about it, the young people are the ones who are feeling the brunt of this economy more than anybody else. You come out of secondary school, out of college, even out of university, and it's difficult to get a foothold in this economy. So they are the ones who really, their interests have to be first and foremost in our minds as a political party in opposition and seeking to form government. And certainly in government, that will be a number one priority for the New Democratic Party to create jobs, particularly for our young people. And the forum here today is intended to broaden the scope a bit from simply focusing on young people who come out of school and say, let's find a job in some existing and going concern or in government, to one of saying, let's think of ways in which you could also create a job for yourself and for others, where you become young entrepreneurs. And this comes from having ideas, but it also comes from building an infrastructure, capital, advice, legal and otherwise, that will facilitate these sorts of endeavors. It's critically important that we change our mindset as a people going forward to face the challenges that we have and we know that we'll encounter. And that is to say that we must be more aggressively entrepreneurial. We must be more engaged in trying to change our circumstances, not just to accept them. And that challenge falls, I think, on the shoulders of all of us, but we want to challenge the young people here today and going forward to be leaders and shapers in that strategy going forward. As the forum says, it's an opportunity for young people to drive prosperity going forward for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have a wonderful panel here. I look forward to the discussion as we go on during the evening. And for the young people who are here, take the advantage, take the opportunity to voice your opinion, respectfully, of course, but frankly, and let us try to find ways to make St. Vincent and the Grenadines better, because I do believe that we can do better in this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Friday. At this time, we're going to go straight into the presentations for this afternoon. Our first speaker is Mrs. Misha Cruikshank. She is a lawyer and entrepreneur. Mrs. Misha Cruikshank is the lead counsel at her chamber's Cruikshank Law Office, which commenced operation in January 2015. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in History and Human Resource Development with first-class honors from the University of the West Indies, Mona Campus, Jamaica, and a Bachelor of Laws degree with second-class honors from the University of London, England. She earned her legal education at the Norman Manley Law School in Jamaica. Her experience includes representation in commercial real estate purchases, advising on formation of domestic and international offshore companies, advising on compliance and obtaining cannabis license, acting in multi-million-dollar commercial projects, advising on alien landholding license applications for non-Vincentians who wish to own land and property in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and planning and settling estates. Misha is the president of the Public Affairs and Religious Liberty Council of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Mission of Seventh-day Adventists, and a member of the Caribbean Religious Liberty Association, an arm of the prestigious International Religious Liberty Association, whose mandate is to promote religious liberty with particular emphasis on liberty of conscience for peoples of all faith. As an advocate of entrepreneurship, education, and training, she, along with her husband, are the founders and directors of the Maranatha Education Foundation, a non-profit organization formed in 2018. Let's put our hands together and welcome Mrs. Cruikshank. I said sister, as she comes. And those who are seated at the back, if you can just draw a little closer so that those who might come in later can simply slip in when they come. Thank you.
All right, I think I need to stay up here because I'm short. My intention this afternoon was to wear some heels, but I figured, yeah, and I stand up here, right? All right, now I'm a little bit more comfortable. Good afternoon, everyone. So I was, listening to the biography, listening to the introduction, and I was there smiling to myself because I was saying, who prepared that? Who wrote that? I'll tell you the truth. I wrote it. And to be honest, sometimes when you're projecting yourself, you have to look for the best things to say. You're introducing yourself to people for the first time. You have to look for the best things to say, So I crafted something that I thought would catch everybody. All of it is true. Some of it is hopeful. But there is one particular thing that was stated in the biography, and it is that I do multi-million-dollar business deals. I've done one so far. I'm aspiring to do many more, and I believe that very soon we'll see so many more, such projects coming in. Now, I want to thank you all for coming. And I want us to focus specifically on young people that are here. Let me see the hands of the young people who are here who are entrepreneurs. They have some kind of business, whether a hair product, you're plaiting people here on the side. Okay, only one person. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of a room of 100. So we have a lot of work to do. You agree? I think we have a lot of work to do. Now, before the end of this evening, most of you will realize that you're hearing an accent. I'm a Jamaican. And if you are lucky enough, you might hear some Jamaican patois, raw Jamaican patois, right? But I have to be excited. So you have to ask me some questions that I'm going to get excited about. But I introduce my nationality at this point because in my presentation, I want to do a comparison of what is happening in Jamaica, or not a comparison. I want to have a brief look at what is happening in Jamaica as it relates to the entrepreneurial landscape. And I want us to see if we can take away some points, some aids that can actually help us in St. Vincent to push forward our entrepreneurial spirit, create the spirit if it is not there, and enhance the spirit if it is there. You will decide if that is the case. Now, Jamaica gained its independence from Britain in 1962, and coming out of a history of slavery and colonization, the government of the day decided that they had to craft a national plan for development. The promise was that there's going to be a fruitful economy. We're going to have the perfect place for people to live, to raise their families, right? And of course, as politicians often do, there were promises of eradication of poverty. There were promises of respectable employment, better living standards, and the works we know how politicians often speak. 56 years later, and Jamaica is the bed for criminal activities in the Caribbean. We have a dollar that fluctuates more than anything else. The last I checked, the Jamaican dollar is $1 to 135 Jamaican dollars. And there is a political history that is notorious. Everybody knows of the blood-stained history that Jamaica has as it relates to politics. Notwithstanding all of that negative, Jamaica, based on some information that I heard from the Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett, at an event that he attended in March this year, he said that Jamaica welcomed 1 million visitors to its shores within the first 9 weeks of 2019. This is a country that is sick with crime, right? And he also explained that from that visitor influx, there was a foreign exchange earning of approximately US $800 million. This was in the first 9 weeks of 2019. I don't know how many of us have heard of the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor Program, and it is the world's leading research consortium exploring the relationship between entrepreneurship and economic growth and development. Now, GEM monitors entrepreneurship in Jamaica, and in its 2016-2017 report, it stated, and I found this very interesting, there was a quote and it said, Jamaicans are driven to engage in entrepreneurship by opportunities that exist, and they have a low level of fear of failure. That is what I want to focus on this afternoon. According to GEM, Jamaicans view entrepreneurs in a positive light, and they rate highly on the GEM surveys of entrepreneurship. So, for example, when they did the survey as it relates to perception towards entrepreneurship, Jamaica ranked at a high of 84%, right? And this is in comparison to Germany, 52%, the UK, 60%, the USA, 65%. What does this mean? When they did the survey, they found that 84% of Jamaicans view entrepreneurship positively. In fact, the report said that of the 84%, well, the 84% of those who were, the 84% of those who were surveyed saw entrepreneurship as a good career choice. We compare that with the United States, where 65% view it as a good choice, right? Another important statistic was that business discontinuation rate in Jamaica is at 9%. 9%. And this, when you compare it with North America is 12%. So we're talking about when somebody starts a business, what's the likelihood that the business will be discontinued? 9% in Jamaica, 12% in the United States. So my question is, what accounts for the positive approach of Jamaicans to entrepreneurship? And I wish to posit 3 major indicators. The first thing, Jamaican entrepreneurs are not only necessity entrepreneurs, but they are opportunistic. Let me tell you what that means. Jamaicans turn everything into a business. Everything. Let me see the hands of those who have lived in Jamaica. I know Mr. John has lived in Jamaica. Anybody else? No? 2. Bert has lived in Jamaica. Now, let me tell you a story. I believe the 2 gentlemen should be able to say that they could be walking in Halfway Tree one day and rain is falling. Rain started to fall suddenly. You know what I was going to say. And out of nowhere, you don't have an umbrella, you know, and out of nowhere, you just hear umbrella, 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 and you wonder what is happening. This is men who go into stores and they buy umbrellas and they come out, and suddenly you have an umbrella because you need an umbrella, right? Because rain is falling, you need to go somewhere, right? They turn everything into a business. Now, when we talk about opportunistic entrepreneurs, let me go to necessity entrepreneur. The necessity entrepreneur is the individual who sees that they are in need of something and they turn it into a business. So you come out of school and you realize that you need a job because you're unemployed, and so you open a shop and you start to sell biscuit, right? You created the job out of your necessity, out of your need. You want a job. The opportunistic entrepreneur, like that umbrella man, sees a problem and creates a solution. We need more opportunistic entrepreneurs in St. Vincent. Based on what I see, everybody is a necessity entrepreneur. The second thing that I realize, second indicator, Jamaicans are not afraid of anything. Their level of fear of failure is very low. So I'll tell you this story. I recall in 2014 when I came to St. Vincent and I was trying to figure out, okay, what I'm going to do. And I told my Vincentian relatives that it is my intention to open a law chambers. I will tell you that I got positive response from one person, my husband. He's the only one who believes in me, right? And the family members listed the litany of reasons why it's not going to work. Let me tell you what they said. They said I'm too young. They said there are too many lawyers in St. Vincent. All right? They also said, I write them down because I didn't want to forget. They also said that I'm not Vincentian. And another one, your last name is Crookshank. But I was very deliberate in keeping that last name. That's another story for another time. And when I was told those things, I listed them down, and that is why I remember them. And I strategically identified every single disadvantage and negative, and I figured out how am I going to overcome every single one of those negatives. I'll tell you, 4 years later, I moved from the first year I made $0 profit, but that's how it is in business, right? You're not afraid. You just do because things need to do, right? You just do. And in the first year I made $0, but every year since then, my clientele has grown, and I have some money in the bank now. Praise God. The third indicator that I found why Jamaicans do well in business, it is because generally there is a culture of entrepreneurship in Jamaica. As I said earlier, everybody turned everything into a business. The cruise ships are coming in and everybody... Let me tell you a little fun. This wasn't in my notes, but I have to tell you. This is how entrepreneurial Jamaicans are. And there's a reason I'm saying it, because I want us to develop that type of culture in St. Vincent, which I think is woefully inadequate. I remember some years ago when the cruise ship berth was opened in Trelawney, they had a flooding problem. And the tourists coming on these huge ships, and when rain falls, the entire town is flooded. You know what some Jamaican men did? They have carts, push carts, that they carry vegetables for people in the market. They took their carts, they put fabric over it and they nice it up. And when rain started to fall, they headed to the cruise ship terminal and they pushed the tourists over that river that was created because of the poor drainage. And all the tourists were very excited. When I saw the newspaper article, I was so surprised. And they got paid for it. Why? Because they saw a problem and they found a solution. In Jamaica, there is the government, well, successive governments, they encourage entrepreneurship. I mean, some people, there are different opinions, but I have seen that they really encourage entrepreneurship. So you're going to see they have Jamaica Business Development Center. These are all government-sponsored initiatives, right? You have the Jamaica Business Development Center. Ministry of Labor and Social Security not only deals with conflicts in the workplace, they actually help entrepreneurs to find creative solutions to problems. The Jamaica Youth Business Trust, National Center for Youth Development, the National Export-Import Bank of Jamaica, which is similar to the development bank concept that we had in St. Vincent years ago. And the universities in Jamaica have always been encouraged to create more diverse programs that target youth who want to be invested in entrepreneurship. Now, every week on both television stations in Jamaica, you are flooded with stories about entrepreneurs. Every day. You are not short of inspiration. And if you're not inspired, something wrong with you. Because every turn, you see it around you. There is a private sector that also encourages entrepreneurship. There is a Richard Branson Center for Entrepreneurship. There's Startup Jamaica, Youth Entrepreneurs Association. All the banks in Jamaica have specially crafted products and services that are aimed at entrepreneurs, right? So the problems that we have in St. Vincent, when you go to some of the banks, you can't get loans. I don't know any bank in Jamaica that has those problems. So there is really no shortage of inspiration for anybody who wants to become an entrepreneur. So let's wrap this up with the brief summary that I outlined just a while ago. How can we apply this to the Vincentian experience? And I want to posit those, or I want to transfer those 3 points to our Vincentian context and encourage that we actually really put it into practice and see if we're going to see some difference in what happens in St. Vincent. The first thing, opportunities. We see the problems, and every day we talk about the problems. But how are we going to turn these problems into opportunities? There are no lack of opportunities in St. Vincent. When I just came to St. Vincent, I wondered why. In 2013, when I came to St. Vincent for the first time, the first place I wanted to go to was a restaurant. Why? Because usually when you travel, that's the first thing you want. You want to try the local food. And I was very disappointed when I went into the restaurant. I'm seeing rice. Oh gosh. Provision. Fish. Chicken, you know, the regulars. But then when heroes they come around, I'm hearing about I know they do kind of buljo and the modongo bakes. And I'm hearing about these things, and up to now I haven't tasted them because every time I go to National Heroes Day thing, either they don't have any or they run out early or something. And this is what I want. I want to taste these things. You know, statistically, they say that 84% of tourists who travel, they travel for food experiences. I want to see a young person who can cook. Don't ask me because I can't do those things. Somebody who can cook or who knows somebody who can cook, create this. And we open this restaurant during the time when it is high tourism season. And I can guarantee you, people like it, and that's what they're traveling for, they want experience. They will buy into it. The opportunities are there. We just need to realize the opportunities and tap into them. Second thing, my view, and you can cuss me afterwards, generally I think Vincentians are not as brave as we say we are. And I say we because I'm a citizen of this country. I don't believe that Vincentians are as fearless as we say we are, especially when it comes to business. Too negative. And as soon as somebody pitches something, you say, nah, go work. You know? And the million of problems and the million of excuses come up. Let us be purposeful in seeking out the opportunities and be fearless in trying them out. The worst that could happen is what? You fail. And I'm sure you're not going to take some risks that you don't calculate. You're not going to put all your money or your parents' money, because you don't have the money, all your parents' money into a business and then it fails. No, that's not how people do business. You're going to put some money in it. And if you're losing money, well, you bounce back tomorrow, right? I'm not too optimistic, am I? You gain the experience. That is true. And the final thing, nurture a culture of healthy competition and entrepreneurship. This goes beyond us as young people. This goes to more the policymakers, and it goes to our parents. It goes to the influencers in the society. We need to see entrepreneurs talking about entrepreneurship, talking about their struggles, talking about their success, sharing their stories so that people can be inspired to know that I can do this too. They're not the only ones who can start business. Law is not the only business that I can start, and unfortunately sometimes we don't treat law as a business. You have your doctor's office, you don't treat the doctor's office like a business. We have to change the mindset. Dr. Friday mentioned that earlier. We have to change the mindset. We are going to have to, the government, I believe, and whichever government, because it doesn't matter, whichever government comes into power, it is the same policy that needs to be encouraged. We have to craft a national policy which is going to advance self-employment and positive images of self-employment in St. Vincent. As it relates to the entrepreneurs that are existing already, we need to create associations that are able to fund certain initiatives. In Jamaica, there is this entrepreneurship experience called Corporate Mingle. And it is sponsored by the banks, and it is sponsored by the big Sagicor and those big companies. What they do, they just rent out a space, a hall, and they invite young people who want to get into business to come into the hall and meet CEOs and meet, big businessmen. And you just mingle, you just talk, you get inspiration, and they have something like a TED Talk where you're inspired to go out and do business. We need to start to create that type of environment, that type of culture in St. Vincent, so that young people who are coming up can see positive images of entrepreneurship, believe that they can do it, and they go out and they take the risks. On that note, let me just say that I want to extend thank you to the NDP for hosting this, and I've seen another. This is not the first initiative I've seen NDP. This is not the first Youth Forum. I've seen another Youth Forum like this before, right? And another institution, two other institutions, Invest SVG. I don't know how many of us actually use the services, but they have good services, right? And the Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. How refreshing it is when I see the calendar come out and I see young people who are doing business. And it tells me that there are young people who are interested in entrepreneurship. They just need the support. We need to create that environment where we can get the support. All right, so let me close with this story, right? There's this gentleman named Larry. And Larry decided that he's going to open a business. And he's doing well. And then suddenly he sees a gentleman decide that he's going to open a shop right next door to him, right? And this gentleman, bad-minded or what, I don't know, decides that he's going to sell the exact same product that Larry's selling. But he puts a big sign over his business that read lowest prices. So Larry now in problems because Larry is saying this is serious competition. How am I going to deal with this? How am I going to respond? Before Larry could come up with a solution, another shop opened on the other side. Same product they're selling. But this time they put a big sign that read best quality. So Larry saw a problem. He could have responded with fair. And clearly, there is a culture of entrepreneurship because everybody a pop-up shop. Larry decides that he's going to respond. Larry goes down to a little man and he asks him to create a sign for me. And the sign read, main entrance, and he stuck it right in the middle. This story inspired me because I thought, listen, Larry is like all of us. We see the problems and we can choose how we want to respond. Larry decided that he's going to respond in a more positive way. He's not going to be afraid. He's going to meet it head on. And I'm pretty sure Larry had more customers than everybody else. Thank you very much.
Yes, we want to thank Mrs. Cruikshank. I keep saying sister because that's how we refer to each other in church. But Mrs. Cruikshank for her presentation, just to recap very briefly, she spoke about necessity versus opportunity and how important it is that we can see solutions. And she also spoke about being fearless, identifying challenges, and how to successfully navigate them. She spoke too about inspiration, and Mrs. Cruikshank, you have inspired our young people this afternoon. I want to thank you very much again for taking the time out to so inspire our youths. Thanks again. Our second speaker is Mrs. Aria Laidlow. Oh, Miss, I'm so sorry. Maybe it's prophecy, I don't know. She is an environmental change specialist, and she is currently a climate and sustainability research intern with the United Kingdom Met Office and a recent graduate of the University of Oxford with a Master of Science in Environmental Change and Management. She also holds a Bachelor of Science in Geography and Environmental Natural Resource Management from the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. She is interested in how opportunity spaces can be derived within our current economic sectors, such as tourism, to ensure the transition to sustainable futures. For over 8 years, Ari has been involved in political youth advocacy in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and has been a vital member to other professional organizations, such as the Beckway Innovators Toastmasters Club, where she held the position of Vice President of Education. Her desire to act as a catalyst of change has extended into her recent appointment as Director of Program Development for the Commonwealth Youth Council for the Caribbean and the Americas, and her recent project, Youth Opportunities SVG. Youth Opportunities SVG currently acts as a platform that provides local, regional, and international opportunities for young Vincentians. However, she hopes that Youth Opportunities SVG will eventually provide capacity building and financial support in helping young Vincentians to develop innovative ways in order to solve the Sustainable Development Goals. Let's put our hands together as we welcome Miss Aria Laidlow.
Okay, I thought I was a bit taller than Misha, but apparently I'm just as short. So good afternoon, everyone. And I just want to see all those who consider themselves to be young people in here this evening. I know this is a forum for everyone, but I am all about the youth this afternoon. To me, young people are a part of the sector of our population who are best positioned by virtue of their creative nature to play a leading role in developing solutions to the many problems we face today in society. Therefore, I think this afternoon's event is very timely and relevant, and I do hope some of what I say stays with you. but I also hope to be thought-provoking and to break down some of the mental constructs that we already have existing. Now, our very own Dr. Andrew Simmons has done some research, and he stated that the training and education provided by Caribbean island states does not equip young people to meet the current development needs of the region, and it also does not prepare them to meet the future needs as well. I find this to be very scary. I don't know about you. Now, for many of us, I am certain, as early as our preschool years, we were asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I am also certain that many of us named the usual suspects. I want to be a nurse, a doctor, a teacher, a lawyer. And for some reason, by the skin of their teeth, our parents and our guardians would ensure that they would do whatever it takes so that that line that we murmured at 4 or 5 years old becomes a reality. Now, this trend continues into our secondary school years, where pure sciences and pure business streams are seen as ideal. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this, But what I find is that it encourages a tunnel vision as to what our career paths and our jobs should look like. Now, I am here to tell you that we need to be cognizant of the fact that we are living in a world where we are increasingly seeing that your career path is not necessarily defined by your academics and your experiences, but also your abilities. What can you do? So on your quest to become a nurse or whatever you choose to be, don't be afraid or deterred to learn to manage social media handles, to learn to play an instrument, to code, to learn to use some sort of graphic designing program. Now, for me, identifying my career path at the age of 19 started with a few questions connecting the themes of tourism, environmental management, climate change, and sustainable development. However, as time progressed, I allowed for interests and passions to take hold. And I do believe that it is this complexity that is needed to develop the career paths that would help us to solve many of the problems that we are facing today within our Vincentian society and tomorrow. Now, for many of you, I know you have attended a forum such as this. And you might have heard the common phrase that in order to get a job, hard work is the key to success. Now, while this may be true, it is definitely not all of the story. I also do believe that success can be achieved when opportunity meets preparation. Now, after completing my A-levels and having taught for 3 years as a primary school teacher, it was not until my 3rd year at US St. Augustine in Trinidad that I attended a job preparation seminar called World of Work. Now, we are here discussing about youths and positioning them for economic prosperity. But we need to ask the questions of the vast numbers of young girls and boys leaving secondary school, college, and even university. How many of them can confidently and or are capable of answering questions for an interview? How many of them can format their CVs and resumes to ensure that they are grammatically correct and appropriate? And even if it is the same outfit they wear to every single interview that they go to, do they have the appropriate attire? Now, although trivial, the number of persons seeking educational and personal development opportunities, you need to be on the ball at all times. Unfortunately, it is absurd that our institutions are still so hard-bent on scores and ranks, instead of equipping our young people with the skills that they need to transition out of that institutional setting. Now, developing your skill set is a great example of how you can develop and further your career and prepare yourself for the job market. These skill sets can be learned, for example, being as a part of an organization. And I can boldly stand here and tell you today that the many hands-on skills that I have gained has been as a result of my involvement in organizations over the years, and many hours spent with the greatest professor of our time, YouTube. Skills that you don't have to sit in a classroom to learn, but skills you can learn being with your peers, doing amazing things for your country, your community, all while having fun. Now, Abraham Lincoln once said that in order to predict the future, you must create it. Now, with youth unemployment in St. Vincent and the Grenadines at a staggering 47%, there's a lot of chitter-chatter about jobs here, there, and everywhere. However, jobs does not necessarily create work. Work is something that we create for ourselves. There's a paradigm shift, and our society needs to change with it. Meaningful work is where our dreams and our aspirations lie. It is where our creativity lies. And for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, it is where innovation would thrive. Today, it is all about the entrepreneur, the musician, the professional athlete. And that is a sort of an enabling environment that we should encourage. Now, although there are many young people who have identified ways in which they would like to, go and have their career being developed in and had done the necessary preparations, one cannot deny the many challenges that young Vincentians face on a daily basis. I know that firsthand, and I know Misha spoke about, not being brave, but these challenges do exist. A lack of an enabling environment, a too conservative business sector, a heightened political climate, the inability to access the basic factors of production, land, labor, capital, those of us who did POB one-on-one, and financial insecurity. However, although these challenges exist, it is important for you to use the resources that you have around you. Information is free, vast in abundance, and right at the tip of your fingers. Be determined and focused, but most importantly, trust your struggle. Now, in 2016, I was between jobs. But let me tell you, those skill sets come in handy because I was managing people's social media accounts, designing graphics for different restaurants and so forth like that. So those skills come in handy. But never would I have thought that the next year I would be attending one of the most prestigious universities. And I was just determined to find my own opportunity. And that is what I did. That is what I encourage you to do. And that is what I would continue to do for Vincentians through Youth Opportunities SVG. Now, after all that would have been said and discussed here this evening, in order to really drive young people to economic prosperity, there must be a change in power dynamics, and that is what we need to have a discussion about. Young people must be involved in the center of national decision-making processes. And this strategy starts on the premise where not only the government, but key stakeholders recognize that young people have an important role to play. And I do believe that this sort of recognition and this power to young people would encourage them and give them that sort of confidence and drive to make changes through all different sectors within our society. And not to ruffle the organizers of this event this afternoon, but before we can have this discussion about, entrepreneurship and a drive to economic prosperity, we have to equip our young people with the skills that are necessary. We have to break the mental constructs, the institutions. Those things must change. And an enabling environment to foster these changes must exist, so that we will not only ensure that young people are driven to economic prosperity, but socio-economic prosperity. Thank you.
I want to thank Ms. Aria Laidlow for her presentation, and she emphasized the importance of being prepared. And there is a quote that I like very much that says, it's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. So indeed, we really have to equip ourselves, get the adequate training that we need, learn soft skills, and of course, you know, it's good to advocate for youth involvement in national affairs and that enabling environment that we all need, but we have to as well see what role we can play to create that environment that is very much needed in order for young people to take their respective places, not only in the national arena, but also, you know, in whatever department that they might see themselves best suited to fit. At this time, we're going to invite Miss Ruth Ann Lewis. And Miss Ruth Ann Lewis is a musician and entrepreneur. And she is an avid musician, freelancer, and entrepreneur, and the founder of Music School SVG in 2012 and the Themes String Quartet SVG. And this is the very first local violin and cello quartet in St. Vincent. With a Master of Music degree from Bob Jones University of Music and certification from the New England Conservatory of Music, Ms. Lewis has performed, composed, taught, arranged, and facilitated productions, recordings, and presentations as a soloist, a professional, as well as a member of musical and theatrical ensembles for 2 decades. A lover of culture and cultural exchange, Ms. Lewis believes that the support of the pursuit of excellence in the arts and cultural expression is an integral part of the foundation for mutual respect for fellow human beings, an incentive for individual and collective contributions of significance to progress and happiness, and a fortification for individual ideas, intellectual thinking, and active participation in one's community. As a firm believer in these simple conclusions, Ms. Lewis's musical career cannot help but reflect these ideals. Let's put our hands together as we welcome her to the podium.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Vincentian community. I'm Ruth Ann Lewis, and don't mind the accent. I have a Bajan family and relatives, and once you catch the Bajan accent, you have it for life. So, how does one become an entrepreneur? The first thing a budding entrepreneur must do is find something of value to share. That unique and valuable thing is you. Who you are irreplaceable. You are worthy. Societal descriptions do not make you who you are. Rather, your rationalizations, your thoughts, and your beliefs do. It is not your experiences that make you who you are, but rather what you believe about them, what you have accepted or rejected for yourself, whether subconsciously or consciously. It is out of who God has made you and what He has given to you that you find your greatest abilities and purpose. And from an active pursuit of these things, you can make a real positive difference in this world. The question is, do you see it? Do you see it in yourself? Do you see it in the natural beauty and culture around you? Do you see it in others? What do you believe about SVG, its people, and its culture? What do you believe about yourself? When you see that there are good things right here, you, from a stance of positivity and hope for yourself and for your community, will find